Hey everyone, I'm Max Patton with another video about the Apple Watch Ultra, this time comparing to the Garmin Epix, but mainly talking about 3 different ways you can track a workout on the Apple Watch Ultra. Because of course there's the built-in Apple Workout app, and now in watchOS 9, if you're a runner, that's going to give you a lot more data about, well, your average power, your vertical oscillation, all kinds of nerdy metrics. Then I'm going to compare Strava's app. Strava, well, if you know, it's a social media network for athletes where you can upload your activities and your running routes and cycling and all that. But I'm going to basically use Strava's app on the Apple Watch, and then I'm going to use an app called WorkOutdoors, which a lot of commenters have been suggesting. It's a very powerful app for Apple Watch that basically tries to turn the fitness experience on the watch into something more akin to what Garmin has. So it lets you customize the crap out of your data fields, get super nerdy with all of that info. It is a very detailed app. It's like a $6 one-time purchase. It's a labor of love from that developer. I honestly don't know how he's making money. Like, I'm surprised it's not a subscription. But anyhow, that app is going to be something I'm going to try as well. It's very in-depth. I'm not sure if most people will want to use it because it's so in-depth, but I will compare all 3 and just kind of decide what is the best for each type of person. The way I'm going to do this is testing basically one loop around where I am right now with each of the different apps. Then I'm going to compare just for fun to that native workout app on the Garmin, which of course has a bunch of this stuff built in. However, the Garmin will not calculate your, let's say, running power without their separate Dynamics chest strap, which is a separate purchase. And on the topic of chest straps, I know in my last video, I'll have that in the info card, by the way, where I did a long ride and swim with the Apple Watch. I didn't talk about heart rate data. I wanted to add a quick note on that here. Well, heart rate data on both of these watches is excellent. And in my opinion, for most users, most of the time, the days of having to use a dedicated chest strap are over. Of course, you can still use a Bluetooth strap with the Apple Watch, and you can use Bluetooth or ANT+, which is another protocol, by the way, with the Garmin. But I think both of these watches have the best optical sensors. When I looked at the data for cycling and swimming, they were almost identical for like a 6-hour cycling workout and a 40-minute open water swim. That, I think, is a true testament to how good wrist-based heart rate has gotten. However, of course, there will be edge cases. In the water, it's tougher. If it's colder conditions, it's going to be tougher. If you have a loose fit on your wrist, the heart rate readings won't be as accurate. So I do want to add that. But aside from, those edge cases, I think for most of the time, wrist-based heart rate is accurate. So of course, in all of my loops around here, I will share those on screen as I bring my GoPro about me and kind of film those loops. I'm going to try to keep a similar pace, and then I'm going to talk about the heart rate that was recorded just between the Garmin and the Apple Watch on one of the runs for fun. But anyhow, that's a lot of info. That's a lot of me blabbering. Let's get on to testing these 3 different workout apps for the Apple Watch. And they're not just for the Ultra, they're for any of the Apple Watches, but a lot of this will apply specifically for, the hardcore fitness crowd looking at a product like the Ultra. So let's just get into that. All right, to start with, the first thing I'm going to use is the native workout app on the Apple Watch, which is just Apple's workout app. Then we're, of course, just the Garmin app for fun to compare. But mainly, I want to, of course, talk about the differences between this, Strava, and then WorkOutdoors. Just for fun, by the way, got Bluetooth headphones paired. So this time they're off the Garmin. I had to sync Spotify playlist offline. With the Apple Watch, I'll just do that later. And of course, I can stream music. So that's just a little benefit I wanted to throw in there. But anyhow, let's get into actually doing one workout, comparing 2 watches with their native workout apps, and then we'll get into the other third-party apps. All right, just did a lap with both watches. It's about a mile and change around here. So this is the Apple native workouts app. You can see it displays a pretty useful summary of your data. So I'm just gonna show you that really quickly. Then of course we have the classic Garmin interface, which shows you things like your recovery metrics and all of those. So I would say in terms of data density, the Apple Workouts app has gotten a lot better. It shows you, of course, elevation gained, of course, your distance, your map, your things like that. But now it also shows heart rate zones while I was doing the workout. So that's something I appreciated. This loop, I'm out of shape, so I was in zone 5. Both watches all the time. Their heart rate monitors seemed reasonably accurate because they both got me at about 180 something BPM the whole time, which is not great, but it shows that the accuracy of the wrist-based optical stuff has gotten a lot better. And in my opinion, they were both very suitable. So now it's on to the third-party apps. Enough with the Garmin native stuff. We're gonna go on to Strava and the WorkOutdoors, see how those compare. So I'm now going to use Strava's third-party integration, see how that works. But before that, I want to show one advantage. I'm switching the Bluetooth headphones to Apple Watch here, which of course I can stream Spotify or Apple Music over cellular. I don't need to sync those playlists offline. Huge benefit, and makes the Garmin kind of seem like it's from the last century. So love that. Okay, just got done with the Strava app, and I have to say, of the Apple workout app, the Garmin app, it's the worst of all I've tried. One, you can see it has my workout summary here, so it did the important stuff, it tracked distance and heart rate, but it did show me my elevation gain on the data screen. It was slowest to update. Maybe it's because of the third-party app, it's a limitation, I'm not sure. I'll see with WorkOutdoors. Also, it put the Apple Watch into what I call dumb always-on mode, where it just showed me the time. So if I didn't do the wrist gesture or tap to wake up the screen, then I was basically stuck with just the time showing, which was not a problem with the native Apple workout app. Also, it just, you know, very kind of disappointing coming from a company like Strava, who you think gets athletes. They just don't have a great third-party app on the Apple Watch. And if you're worried about, oh, how do I sync my Strava stuff if I don't use a Strava app to track, it's very simple. Both WorkOutdoors and Apple Workouts will work with a system called Apple Health. Once your workouts are there, Strava actually has built-in integration now to import your workouts in the Strava app on your phone. So it's really not an issue in my book. But yeah, the Strava app on Apple Watch, by the way, I just triggered Siri, is really not a great experience. So cannot recommend that. So that last lap was with WorkOutdoors, and I was really impressed. All for one thing. So the actual app itself is great. So many settings. The data screens were great. It had a map that just showed up. I don't know where it came from, but it was really cool. It showed me, of course, the trails. I'm sure I could load a GPX into it. In terms of the integrations and features, it was so customizable. I didn't even use different data screens. Like I didn't set up my own, but the built-in ones worked well. And of course, you can customize them. There were a ton of settings for like how it would auto pause the run, which, by the way, Strava doesn't do on the watch. To my knowledge, the Apple Workout app does support pausing only for running and cycling. But yeah, the functionality of WorkOutdoors was something that impressed me a lot. Data recording, of course, it used the watch's native sensor, so it was fine there. And it just had a native upload to Strava integration. The thing I didn't like is it still did that always on display thing where it just went and showed the time. It didn't show my actual screen like it does with the Apple Workout app. I'm suspecting that this is just a limitation that Apple gives third-party developers, because I haven't seen an app yet that seems to work with it. Neither Strava nor WorkOutdoors did. So that's disappointing. I hope Apple changes that, especially with the Ultra having better battery life than your normal series of Apple Watches. So I think that would be awesome for them to open up, because I'm sure the developer of WorkOutdoors, based off everything else I've seen, would love to add it. I mean, the app is so functional for $6. Like, it's kind of suspicious how cheap it is, but it was a great app. Very nerdy and customizable, a little bit intimidating, but in terms of that functionality, I see why people recommend it. It's really great, and I can't wait to start using it more for navigation, guidance, all of those features. I feel like that brings it a little bit up to on par with the Garmin, and of course, you still have your connectivity with all the sensors. It only is still limited to Bluetooth sensors, another hardware limitation of the Apple Watch. You can't use ANT+, you can't use a cycling sensor like the Garmin Varia radar units for obvious reasons, because those are not compatible with Apple stuff, only with Garmin stuff. So that's just some ecosystem points there. But anyhow, as an app, WorkOutdoors, really liked it a lot. But I think for most people, if you don't need those nerdy metrics, the native Apple Workouts app is good. Highlight of this experience was just Strava app on the Apple Watch. That's terrible. I don't ever recommend using that. All right, so after using 3 different apps on the Apple Watch, and then of course comparing the Garmin on one run, well, I feel a little more validated in using the Apple Watch as just a multi-sport watch every day. Yes, I know the Garmin is still better, but it is such a dedicated device. As a smartwatch overall, I just love the experience of the Apple Watch. It's that ability to use Siri, having cellular, it's just a safety feature on its own. Yes, Garmin makes an LTE watch with safety features, but it's a last generation product. They haven't applied it to the latest Phoenix and Forerunner watches, and that feature functionality is very basic. It's a separate subscription. Cellular is also separate on the Apple Watch, is an extra 10 bucks a month, but you don't just get emergency calling, you get music streaming, you get the ability to use maps offline. You can basically use the watch as a full miniature smartphone with cellular, which is powerful. So in that respect, I actually think the Apple Watch, from a value perspective, the one watch, if you're gonna have one watch, undercuts Garmin. That said, my experience today showed that Garmin's native workout app that's built into their watches is first class. It has very few bugs because it's their bread and butter, right? It's built in. And this is where I think Apple has no excuse, to the Apple Watch fans out there who told me to use WorkOutdoors. I love WorkOutdoors. It's a great app, but Apple should not be depending on a third party to have these features. And it's my opinion firmly that these features should be treated as first class, integrated, built right into the watch. Apple, I don't know how you want to do it. Maybe hire the developer of WorkOutdoors. I'm sure you have the money to do it yourself. Use your mapping data, apply that, build it in offline to the watch like Garmin lets you, download all of the ski resorts and golf courses in America. This kind of functionality, if Apple, I think, applied first, like in a first class, first party way onto the Apple Watch, I think they would seriously take a chunk out of Garmin's market share. As it stands, there's plenty of reason to still have a Garmin, and I'm only kind of giving up my Epix for financial reasons. It's very hard for me to justify having both of these expensive smartwatches. I might still use a Garmin Edge cycling computer. Garmin is not going away, not even for me, and I don't think for most dedicated athletes. There's still plenty of reason to use a Garmin, but Apple's chipping away, and with an app like WorkOutdoors, wow, it's amazing what a third party can do on their ecosystem. It'd be great if at a minimum, Apple lets apps like WorkOutdoors use the always-on display in a more useful way, especially now that they have more battery confidence with the Apple Watch Ultra. And even better so would be if Apple actually just, made its native workout app better, or maybe had a separate pro workout app that wasn't afraid to be more intimidating and let users customize even more data fields, do the offline mapping, navigation, all of that. Because as it stands, I think the hardware is all there. The sensors are great. It's one of the best heart rate monitors in the industry, great GPS connectivity. It has, of course, the ECG, all of those other health features, cycle tracking for women, all of that stuff. It's really well done. Apple just needs to push it a little bit further, and then I will be fully on board. But for the meantime, I'm keeping my Epix for now until I find someone who wants to buy it. But yeah, daily, I'm just gonna wear the Apple Watch. And that's, call me an Apple fanboy, call me what you want. As a smartwatch, every day it's better. And apps like WorkOutdoors make a compelling case in the meantime until Apple hopefully gets its act together and goes even further for the fitness crowd, folks like myself. But that's been it for this video. Let me know if you want to see more kind of Apple Watch Ultra content. I'm so glad you guys liked that other video. If you haven't seen it, please do watch it. I did an epic bike ride and an epic swim with the watch and almost killed the Ultra and halfway depleted the battery on the Garmin. So please watch that video. It was really fun. So was this one. But yeah, let me know what you want to see next. Thanks so much for watching.